The greatest freedom is for us to allow anyone who wants to hate without violence, without threats, without incitement, and that is true.
That is true.
You're bringing incitement and hate speech together, which is totally absurd and fascist.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir.
They keep insisting the greatest danger to democracy is dangerous speech. Strange how that label only seems to stick when an ordinary person, not someone with a verified badge and media protection, dares to speak up. There's an old saying, a lie races across the globe while the truth is still lacing up its boots. So pour yourself a drink, stay alert, and hit that like button before we get into this. Because what you're about to watch is the First Amendment being silenced in real time. This moment comes from an AOC town hall, and what unfolds here isn't a discussion, it's a display. One everyday citizen stands up and points out a simple constitutional fact: hate speech is protected speech. Violence is not. Incitement only exists when there's an immediate threat of unlawful action. That's basic First Amendment law. No spin required. No legal lecture necessary. And just watch how the room reacts.
Of expression.
Right.
And that is what I would call it.
Yes.
I think that we have a freedom to express ourselves.
Exactly. He's making a straightforward constitutional argument, and it's hard to refute because the legal standard is very clear. The question isn't whether the speech is offensive, controversial, or unpopular. The question is simple: does it directly call for imminent violence? If the answer is no, then under the First Amendment, it's protected political speech. That's not opinion, that's established law. And you can almost see the shift in the room the moment he lays it out plainly. The discomfort starts showing because facts like that cut straight through the emotional framing.
We should also know that in the United States, there are also limitations on our freedom of speech.
No, only if it involves violence or threats, things that are illegal. But that's not free speech.
And so,
that's threat. Threats are not free speech.
So, and also, beyond violence or threats.
I don't think you should say that, because that's confusing.
And there it is, the MIC gets cut. Not because he was threatening anyone. Not because he was out of control. But because he was calmly making a constitutional argument they clearly didn't want amplified. That's the moment people notice the contradiction. We're constantly told open dialogue and saving democracy are sacred values, right up until someone voices an opinion outside the approved narrative. Then suddenly the conversation ends. Watch the reaction carefully. She pauses, the staff steps in, and the room shifts from discussion to shutdown mode almost instantly.
You know, I think I just want to introduce some nuance to the conversation. That's okay. So I just want to throw some nuance into the conversation, and I'm not trying to have an argument here. I want to have a discussion. Oh, that's fine, sir. I am absolutely, sir. And, you know, I'm absolutely open to being proven wrong on many issues. So when it comes, I'll just let you know my perspective. You know, we can disagree at the end of it, but I want to at least let you know my perspective. My perspective is that we absolutely have a protected freedom of speech. Someone can say, I hate so-and-so, and that is protected speech.
And there it is, the classic, fire in a crowded theater, line. Probably the most overused and misunderstood free speech argument in modern politics. It gets pulled out anytime someone wants to justify shutting down speech they dislike. But as the man points out, you absolutely can yell, fire, if there's actually a fire. The original legal principle was about knowingly creating immediate panic that could physically endanger people, not about banning political opinions or uncomfortable facts. That's the key distinction everyone conveniently skips over. She's taking a video clip of something Ilhan Omar actually said and comparing it to triggering a deadly stampede in a packed theater. It's an extreme comparison, and the audience can see how forced it sounds the moment she makes it.
Of the landmark freedom of speech cases brought down by the Supreme Court, one of those cases and one of the verdicts said another form of speech that is not protected is yelling fire in a crowded movie theater, because that will force people to trample one another. And so that's not protected speech. So
and then the situation escalates even further. Instead of answering the point being made, staff moves in physically to take control of the microphone, and that's the moment the entire exchange stops looking like a public discussion and starts looking like crowd control. From the audience perspective, it comes across less like, we're hearing constituents, and more like, this conversation is over. The optics are terrible because the man wasn't screaming threats or causing chaos, he was continuing to argue his position. And when viewers see staff stepping in physically while the question itself goes unanswered, it reinforces the perception that difficult or uncomfortable questions aren't welcome at all.
Right, sir, but he's saying, in the landmark speech, no, sir, it's fine.
From his perspective, the point he's making is that powerful institutions often reveal their principles by how they respond to dissent. He sees a constituent raising a political argument, then having the mic cut and staff intervene physically, and he interprets that as an attempt to suppress opposition rather than engage with it. That's why his criticism lands emotionally with people already concerned about censorship and political double standards. At the same time, terms like fascism carry a lot of historical weight and are often used very loosely in modern political arguments. What viewers are really reacting to here is the broader tension between maintaining order at public events and allowing open political disagreement. In moments like this, the optics matter a lot, and when someone appears to be shut down instead of answered, it naturally fuels accusations that dissenting speech is being controlled rather than debated.
For me, I think, and so I think for me, sir, my concern is we have freedom to say, I hate this, I hate that. Where I do get concerned is where that line is played with so that we have plausible deniability to incite violence against people. I don't think that the president should have tweeted that video that he tweeted. Do I think he should have gone to jail for it? Absolutely not. But I don't think he should have done that. I think that by endangering Congresswoman Omar, he was playing with this line. And
well, I disagree. She endangered herself, okay? That's not endangerment. By showing the truth. So showing the truth is endangerment, is inciting violence to show the truth.
AOC opens with the familiar political language, words like bedrock, expression, and nuance, the kind of phrasing that usually signals someone is about to blur a very clear constitutional line. Then the man responds calmly and directly, threats and violence are already illegal. Speech itself is protected. And the entire tone of the room shifts. Notice what's important here, he isn't screaming, interrupting, or acting aggressive. He's doing something that modern political spaces often struggle to handle, he's being precise, and then comes the turning point. Mid-sentence, his microphone is cut. No outburst. No chaos. Just silence. That's always revealing because when someone feels confident in their argument, they usually don't need a mute button. And when cutting the audio doesn't end the moment, staff physically steps in to take the microphone. At that point, the optics stop looking like moderation and start looking like message management. Then comes the inevitable, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, comparison, the go-to line whenever someone wants to justify restricting speech. The irony is that the phrase itself is constantly stripped of context.
Well, sir, I don't think anyone's trying to ban that speech.
His right to show the truth of what happened is just as valid as her right to say whatever she wants to say.
And sir, that's why that's why there's no charges being brought up against him.
Criticized by you as though there should be charges.
No, I don't think there should be charges. And I want to make sure
you say he's inciting violence against her.
I think he is.
That's absurd. You cannot incite violence.
Yeah, well, I think he is.
Violence is illegal.
Right. And so okay. And sir, I think one of the larger questions that we have here is that if we're explicitly talking about, do we have the right to say, I hate so-and-so, I hate this,
But I'm telling you that the greatest freedom is for us to allow anyone who wants to hate without violence, without threats, without incitement, and that is true.
That is true.
You're bringing incitement and hate speech together, which is totally absurd and fascist.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you, sir.
The original case dealt with imminent panic and public danger, not political speech or controversial opinions. Comparing a clip of a public official's own statements to causing a deadly stampede isn't a constitutional argument, it's an emotional analogy designed to redirect the conversation, and notice the pivot that follows. Why would anyone want to be bigoted? That changes the subject entirely. Whether speech is offensive has never been the constitutional test. The First Amendment exists precisely to protect speech people dislike, disagree with, or even find offensive. Popular speech never needed protection in the first place. That's the deeper issue raised in this exchange. When showing someone's own public statement starts being framed as dangerous, accountability itself begins to look suspiciously close to prohibited speech. The constituent keeps returning to the distinction she avoids addressing directly. People can hold hateful opinions, but threats, violence, and direct incitement remain illegal. That line is already established in law. Clean. Simple. Constitutional, and by the end of the exchange, the central conflict becomes obvious. The debate isn't really about violence. Violence is already prohibited. The fight is about who gets to decide which speech is acceptable and which speech gets shut down. That's why moments like this resonate so strongly with people concerned about free expression. They see a calm argument answered not with counter-arguments, but with microphones being cut, staff intervention, and rhetorical detours.